Who goes there? Whom dares enter my abode? I can smell you. Don't hide. Step forward, whoever you are. See? It's not that difficult. No. Why don't you tell me what you're doing here? Come to see the mad Baron Malice? The one who starved his people and chased them out on his command. You're probably here to see if all the stories are true. If I really am the power-hungry fool that led to all those who followed him to fail due to his own selfish nature. Whether or not these stories are true doesn't matter now. I did what I thought was best, but all is been and gone now. Or perhaps you're here for revenge. Did I slaughter some of your family? A distant relative? Did someone you know suffer at my expense? Do let me know so I can react accordingly. Wouldn't want to slice you open without knowing your intentions now, would we? So, do tell. Why are you here? You wanted to hear my side of the story? No, that is not something you hear every day. Are you actually interested, or are you just trying to save yourself from dying an early death? Well, you have nothing to worry about for the moment. I'm not in the mood for clearing up blood. As you may have noticed, there is no one else in this castle. I am the only one remaining. Everyone else is either left or died. You want to hear my side of the story? Here it goes. But first, come closer. I haven't seen anyone here in a while, and it's hard to have a good conversation when one of us is on the other side of the room. That's right. Just bring over that chair. Yeah, yes, that one. Good. Now, it all started one winter. I was much more youthful and rather intoxicated. It was the evening of a winter festival, so it wasn't really unusual. Me and one of my friends somehow wandered into the forest. I can't remember exactly how it happened. We had spears and swords, so I suppose we were going hunting. As we were walking through the forest, my friend's voice disappeared, so I went to check where he's gone. I eventually found him lying face down in the snow, surrounded by a group of tall strangers, covered in furs, apparently. I couldn't see straight, but in my drunken form challenged one to a duel. After fighting one and losing, I decided I wanted to accompany them on a hunt they were supposedly on before, well, my friend appeared. They moved like the wind, silent and fast. Their tracking skills were amazing. They hunted like no one I had met before, so I asked to join them, thinking maybe I could perhaps learn something from these skilled beings. They seemed amused, but eventually agreed. They, of course, wanted something in return. That was the final thing I remember that night. The next morning, well, I woke up in the woods, covered in blood. That was the last time I saw them. Well, until my father died. A couple of years later, and I became the next Baron. However, before then, I found weird things that would happen on certain nights of the month. I would wake up in the morning and my bed sheets would occasionally be torn to shreds. A lot of the time there would be dirt scattered around the room, and once or twice I'd find a bloodied animal body part somewhere around the room. The worst one of all was when I found a fresh deer head on my lap when I woke up. Such a mess it made. I remember eventually meeting them again when I became the Baron. Our deal was I would allow them to have whatever they wanted, and they asked for as much food as they could eat. When I rose to power, they would show me how to be like them. That was the agreement. I was thinking perhaps my men could learn skills from them too in the process. That was my first mistake. I underestimated the amount these people would consume. Combined, they could eat through 3 times as much as a group their size should eat. There are around 10 of them. I know then it doesn't sound like too much of an issue, but I was getting hungrier too, and this spread to my men and eventually my people. They arrived around summer, and as time went on, people would eat more and more, but it's almost as if they ate nothing. As they became hungrier, their bodies seemed to be thinning. Most common people didn't have enough money for what they wanted. They needed. Their hunger was like a disease. What's more, the harvest seemed to be poor that year, and so crime eventually was beginning to rise. People wanted what they can't afford, and so began stealing. As of course, I wanted to prevent, so I caught some of the thieves, and as they would usually steal for their families, to try and discourage them and any others from doing it further, I would hang them up and have an executioner gut them. If that's your reaction to that, then I wonder how you'll react to that next part. I took their remains after slicing and dicing and ordered them to be cooked, and then I forced the other members of the group to eat them. Yeah, that's what I thought you think of it. This actually worked briefly. Some of them apparently got a taste for human flesh eventually, probably due to going mad from starvation, and then people just started eating each other. Heck, I think there was even a cult at one point worshipping some sort of a flesh god. Ugh. They seemed more like a demonic cult to me. They would sacrifice victims and eat their remains in hopes of ending their hunger. I may or may not have donated a few thieves to them to try and act as another deterrent to stealing. Anyway, I had enough of this. This was getting out of hand, and I knew I needed to do something, so I banished the group of people who had caused all this, the ones who had brought the hunger with them in the first place. The original group I had met years before. Would you know what happened after that? Would you like to know? They burnt down the remaining stored food. They destroyed our most valuable resource at that point. There are no other towns or villages close enough to buy food from, especially in the middle of winter, so we had a problem. We tried to find them so we could bring them justice, but to no avail. A couple of weeks later, my people continued to starve, now at a more extreme rate, and at first I was stubborn, determined to keep my people from moving away. I had guards stopping anyone who tried to wander too far from the town, with lethal force if necessary. This was another mistake. I remember noticing on my walks through the town, the situation was so bad. There were people dying in the streets, whether it be from starvation or illness caused by the starvation. Eventually, I contemplated the idea of allowing the people to leave. If I could allow them to leave, perhaps they'd have a chance of survival, but maybe the conditions would eventually improve here, and then the town eventually caught fire, which spread far too quickly for it to have just been an accident. This was late at night and many were asleep. It took a long time to try and wake people from their slumbers and alert them of the danger. Many people burned in their beds that night. After whomever we could save were evacuated and the fire ran its course, I allowed people to gather any belongings that might still be there and leave if they so pleased. The remaining townsfolk understandably left. There was nothing here for them anymore, and then I dismissed my guards and anyone else who might be working for me. A few did want to stay, surprisingly, but I insisted they leave. If they stayed here, they would be miserable and in danger. What I thought I done already was bad enough. I didn't want to watch any more people suffer under me. Eventually, I finally persuaded the last to leave, and I was finally left alone. Me in my ghost town. I've been living in my castle, of course. I do occasionally get visitors. Children of those whom have suffered at my hands, wishing to slay me in revenge. There are many tales out there of me, a monster, desperate to destroy what was inherited for the sake of power. It's your choice what you decide I am. I suppose I don't have any reason to cause you harm, so feel free to stay. If you do want to leave, though, do be warned that around this time of year especially, it can be dangerous. From the weather, to the isolated location, to the beasts in the woods. I'm rather surprised you got here in the first place, to be honest. I do appreciate you listening to me, though. As I mentioned before, the people that come here are more act first and think later. The only thing that matters to them is me bleeding out upon this stone throne. Now, I know I've been here a while, but I assure you my battle skills are no less than they were before. Although those beings I have let in caused so much destruction, they did keep up their end of the bargain. If you stayed here, I could protect you. Speaking of which, you look rather cold, and if you come over here, perhaps I can warm you up. My cloak is big enough for the two of us. Hey everyone, just wanted to say a big thank you for watching this video and any other videos. Just doing this because I thought I should start doing these at the end of my videos to show off any fan art or cosplays or anything else you guys might have made for my channel. To be honest, I had no idea my channel would get this notice, but I am so honored you guys think my content is worth watching, as I do put a lot of work into these videos, and I love to use them as a way to not only improve my voice acting and writing skills, but also my art and music skills. To finish off, you guys are absolutely wonderful, and just thought I'd mention that I do now have a Discord, so come hang out, chat with us, we'd love to have you, and see you next time.